One of Europe's top officials has told CCTV that Greece is perfectly free to pursue other trade partnerships. We'll hear more from him in just a moment. And yet one of those partnerships is with a country whose relations with the EU are at an all-time low. And that's raising key questions about where the economic future for Greece really lies. Greece calls itself the bridge between the West and Russia, with religious and cultural ties dating back to medieval times. Now the two countries want to cement that pathway with a pipeline bringing Russian gas to Europe via Greece.
We held talks with the Greek Prime Minister. The Greek government supports the project to create new gas transportation facilities from the border with Turkey. That project could be executed by a joint Russian and European consortium.
There's no word yet on how much that contract might be worth, but another gas transit country, Ukraine, typically earns around $3 billion a year for carrying Russian gas.
There is no doubt that such volumes of transit will allow the Greek side to secure commercial credits in order to execute other projects in Greece.
It's not just gas. The two sides have recently tied up a deal for Russian hardware to replenish Greek missile defences. And having banned most imports from Europe as revenge for Western trade sanctions, Russia is making an exception for Greece by preparing to resume buying its food exports. In the race for Greek assets, China is also moving quickly. Beijing had agreed with the previous government to buy most of the port of Athens. But concerned about selling off too much state infrastructure, the incoming left-wing government overturned that decision. It now appears to have changed its mind and expects to finalise the buyout within weeks. Owen, Fairclough, CCTV. Well, for more on this, I sat down with Pierre Moscovici. He's the European Union's head of economic affairs and is heavily involved in the Greek debt negotiations right now. He recently said that Greece crashing out of the Eurozone would be a catastrophe. So I began by asking him if the current situation already is one.
No, Greece must not leave the Eurozone, and Greece, I'm sure, won't leave the Eurozone. Must not because the Greek people don't want it, because we don't want it, and will not because we've got a capacity to find a good agreement. But it's true that we are far away from it, or too far away from it. We're working, it's work in progress, but this work is too slow and not sufficient to conclude. And this is why now I say to the Greek government, it's time to speed up. It's time to deliver a detailed, a concrete list of reforms that can be implemented, which are good as well for the Greek economy, and in order to fulfill the commitments which have been taken by the Greek state towards its partners, meaning as well the Europeans and the IMF.
Should Greece stay in the euro or in Europe at any cost?
Any cost is, sorry to say that, a meaningless expression. There is a cost, and there are, I think, good conditions for Greece being in the Eurozone. And those conditions are known. Reform in order to change the economy. You know, the problem with Greece is that it's a country which suffered from a terrible blow economically, which lost 27% of its GDP, 27%, where there is 50% of the youngsters who are unemployed. And it's not because of austerity. It's because there needed to be some changes, because there were a lot of cheating, for example, on the public accounts, because
tax evasion.
The economic and social model was not solid, and they need to have that. And in order to have that, they need to reform.
Here's a fundamental difference that I see, having seen this happen 3 years ago, 4 years ago, with the first and second bailouts. During those negotiations, Greece was never really looking at other partners. Now we see Greece buying missiles from Russia, having discussions with China. There are viable alternatives for Greece. If you look at the map geopolitically, Greece would form a valuable part of China's new Silk Road. It doesn't take a great leap of imagination to consider Greece looking at other fundamental partners who would not attach those kinds of conditions.
The Greek government can have its own external policy. Mr. Tsipras was in Russia a few days ago. Their relationship with China, well, that's good. I'm French. I was a French minister, now I'm a commissioner. We have a relationship with China. China is a major partner. Here we'll meet tomorrow the Minister of Finance of China. We want to discuss also about the Asian Development Bank. These are the Asian Investment Bank. These are projects that have to be discussed with us. We want to have a strong relationship with China, but no, there is no alternative for Greece in China or in Russia. The future of Greece is in the Eurozone. I believe that there is no alternative of that kind. There can be good partnership with Russia and China. Why not? It have to be the belonging to the euro is stronger than that.
Is China both a trade partner for Europe, but also a threat?
It's a trade partner, it's a very strong partner, it's also a strong investor, but it's clear too that we've got to defend our own interest in a competition which is today globalized. That's, I think, the way this partnership is built, but there is also a very strong friendship between the EU countries, the EU as a whole, and China.